My name is Lori, and I'm going to be facilitating today's session and assist you with any technical issues should you need it. Just before we get started, I have a few housekeeping notes. This presentation is being recorded, and you will get access to the recording shortly after today's event. The session will run about 30 minutes, and we're going to be taking questions throughout today's presentation. There are two features to the webinar platform that I want to clarify with you. One is the chat feature, and this is geared towards audience dialogue. If anybody wants me to post any links in there, that's where you're going to find them. And then we have the chat. So today's presentation is meant to be interactive. So we are encouraging you to type in your questions as they come. And we have two people here that will help read out those questions. And if there isn't anything, then we'll wait to the end and we'll take Q&A at that time. So with that, welcome to Get the Most with Mechanical Piping and Plumbing with your account executive, Tony Yang. Tony, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Laurie. Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are in the United States or Canada. My name is Tony Ng. I'm the field account executive here at ImagineIt, located here in Sacramento. A very warm welcome to everyone, and thanking you for taking time to attend today's MEP webcast entitled the Get the Most with Mechanical Piping and Plumbing. With us today, presenters are Noah Watkins, an instructor, Norm Aiken, our senior applications expert, both bringing in a wealth of MEP knowledge. And I welcome you to this again and look forward to having an interactive session and that you'll make the most of this. And so over to you, Noah.
Good morning or afternoon to everyone. As Tony said, my name is Noah Watkins and I will be presenting. Hopefully, as we go through, pretty laid back in the sense of we want to be able to showcase things that we can help out and how we can improve or try to streamline some of the things that you're going to be doing, that you're going to be seeing. Just a basic overview of some things that are out there that can be helpful, or just showcasing some of the things that we have that we can interact with and work with from that aspect. I'll go through some introductions to introduce myself to everyone. We'll go through the purpose of this presentation. We'll look at some of the utilities that ImagineIt has that can help utilize for you guys. We'll discuss P-Now and some of the training opportunities that we do here at ImagineIt. And then, as stated before, we'll also go over and have a question and answer time at the end. Like I said, my name is Noah Watkins. I am based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I have my associate's degree in drafting and design technology, and in the past, I have worked as a mechanical designer and a BIM coordinator in the past. I am an Autodesk certified instructor, and I am professionally certified in AutoCAD and in Revit MEP mechanical from that aspect. In looking at today's presentation, my main purpose is how can we go in, how can we look at some things that maybe you haven't seen, maybe you've heard some of the things or some software that's out there, but try to give a little bit better understanding of that and how ImagineIt can help in that sense as well. So how we can increase the productivity, how we can help out, and how we can showcase different things that we have as well. One of the main features that we're going to be looking at is BIM 360 and how that can help out. We're also going to look at some of the Revit utilities that we have developed and we have. We're also going to look at the fabrication products a little bit and showcase how the fabrication parts can help in Revit, or if setting up things in different aspects, if we want to streamline to the point where we want to start estimating some of the projects that we have in, or even get to the point where we want to fabricate stuff in our sheet metal shops, how we can go in and streamline that process as well. And then finally, also discussing a little bit about the P-Now or Productivity Now software that we have that helps train and some of the other things that we do as well. In going in and looking at it, when we start looking at BIM 360 and going through the different things, there's a whole different type of product matrices that BIM 360 incorporates. It's not just a one product where everything is involved. There's separate divisions that break down everything that you can work with and you can start streamlining and doing. In this aspect, it's a better way to organize and work with projects that you're going to be working on. In going through, it's better for collaboration. It's better for coordination. It's better to maintain and start working in the broader spectrum of integrating that. At ImagineIt, we do classes, we help train, we help bridge the gap of getting your feet in and getting ready to use BIM 360 a little bit more. As you can see here, there's going to be different programs that you might look into that you might want to work with as well from that aspect. So if you're looking more from the aspect of working from Revit, you might want to look at the BIM 360 design in that sense. Or if you're looking from the aspect of more project and cost management, you might look at the build aspect. More coordination, coordinate. Publishing, getting everything, documents, things of that nature, BIM 360 docs. So we go through, we help out in facilitating that, and we help train to get you up to speed if you're working with projects or if you're getting to the point where BIM 360 is being pushed into what you are doing on a day-to-day basis. With anything that we work with anything that we do here at ImagineIt, we want to make sure that we help train so that as you're going through, as you're looking at the different things, you're able to move forward down the road. At ImagineIt, we also have utilities that we provide. Not only for Revit, we have stuff for Civil 3D, we have stuff for Vault based on what we're wanting to set up and what we're wanting to use. As we go through, you can always take a test run of these utilities. Any non-subscriber that we have can try out these utilities for free for 14 days to see how that increases your productivity and what you're working with and what you're doing. Some of this stuff is going to be for the MEP spectrum. Others are just helpful tools that you may not realize that you're repeating and you're doing repetitive commands that help out from that aspect as well. But in going through, it's something that we do offer that can help out based on what we're wanting to use. In going through, in working with everything that is here, what are some of these utilities that we have that we can work with? In going through and in working with these, everything that we want to have, that we want to go through, they support all Revit workflows that we're going to be looking at. So again, it's not just necessarily for one discipline or one division. As we're going through and as we're working with it, it's also helpful to know that you have to have a full license of Revit. If you have Revit LT, it doesn't allow that third-party add-in in what you're working with. To give a brief overview of some of the things that are there, we have an ImagineIt tab that has all these things here and what we're using. To showcase some of the things a little bit more in depth, we can start looking at some of the things that are there. Now again, a lot of this stuff is going to be for a broad spectrum, but one of the highlights is pipe adjustments. So in working with MEP, we've all been to that point where the pipes are a little bit finicky. It's kind of hard to make sure that everything is aligned, and you go back and forth, you get frustrated. I know I have in the past. I want to slam my mouse down and break it or break my keyboard because I can't get everything adjusted. Well, one of the tools that we have an adjustment that we can use with the pipes so that they go together and they work a little bit more in depth from that aspect as well. We have ways of going through and looking at shared parameters of support on different things that we're working with. Being able to go in and check any DWGs that we have. Things that we can go in and we can start utilizing a little bit better. Again, that whole aspect of trying to go in and make sure that everything is just organized a little bit better in our day-to-day basis as we go through and we set these things up. In going through, We also have ways of working with spaces and updating those spaces as we're going through and working with the different things that are in place. Ways that we can go in and easily renumber some of the rooms that are in place. Ways that we can go through and easily renumber some of the fabrication parts that are in Revit as well. So being able to go in and being able to work with the different things that are in place that we're wanting to see, that we're wanting to use as well. Again, broad spectrum things that we want to have that may not necessarily always be considered MEP, but ways that we can help try make your life a little bit easier with some of these utilities that we do offer and that we have as well. Again, some more utilities that we have that we can increase and move from there based on what we're wanting to see as well. In going through some of the new utilities that we have, we're currently working and updating from 2020. We're trying to get up and running with 2021 as well. As we go through, we have a great software development division at ImagineIt that helps out, not only for these utilities, but also building other things that may come into play in working with Dynamo a little bit more in depth and making sure that we can get some of these mundane tasks done a little bit quicker and a little bit easier in what we offer and what we do as well. So being able to go through, being able to work with some of these things that are in place, being able to line up things in Revit a little bit more in depth through our sheets to make sure that when we print our sheets out, we have things lined up on top of each other. It's one of those tricky things that we don't think about too much in what we're trying to set up, but trying to make sure that we get everything lined up to make our construction documents stand out a little bit more in what we're doing as well. So being able to go in, being able to utilize some of the things that are in place based on anything that we're wanting to put in place and what we're wanting to use as well. Again, the fabrication parts, being able to renumber those a lot easier than going part by part and having to manually renumber them and go from there. So just trying to help out and trying to streamline some of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis from that aspect as well. In going through, in working with some of the things as well, we also offer training, we also offer assistance with the fabrication products that are out there, whether it's EstMEP, the estimation portion of going in and estimating a job beforehand while using the fabrication database that you have that you're working with, all the way to CAD MEP, which is going in, coordinating, getting that design down a little bit more in depth, all the way to CAMDuct, where we are sending sheet metal to our tables to fabricate and get everything prepared from there. Through these products, we can help out and we can increase that productivity as well. Being able to use real world parts and pieces that you would have, that you would construct off of to go from there. Not only for ductwork, but also for piping, also for plumbing and what you're doing. So being able to incorporate that as well as it ties in with Revit, being able to incorporate the fabrication parts inside of Revit as well, using that same database that you might already be using in Fabrication CAD MEP. So being able to utilize the different fabrication products that are there to increase everything that is there that you would want to use from that aspect as well. In going through and working with it, again, trying to help out as best as we can in training, teaching, and supporting anything that may come up down the road. In everything that we set up and everything we do as well, we also offer a lot of training. We also offer what is known as Productivity Now, e-learning and support. So not only learning, but having a dedicated support team that is dedicated to making sure that we figure out what's wrong with a certain file, or what's wrong, or how to get something accomplished in what we're doing and what we're setting up for everything that is in place. Depending on how we want to have everything and how we want to train, we offer online how-to videos, documents, workflows and learning paths that you can do on your own, all the way to we have training that we can give, where we have online training that we can help in a webinar setting where we interact with each other and we go through those demos a little bit more in depth. Being able to provide that, being able to show the different things that are in place based on what we're wanting to have and anything else that is out there as well. We offer two different types of our productivity now, in the aspect of being able to have any standard licenses or a professional license based on what you're looking at and what you're wanting to see as well. So being able to go in, being able to work with the different things that are in place that we can help out and we can use from that aspect as well. Being able to reach out, being able to help, whether it's a one-person class all the way up to 10 people in a class, and helping them out and being able to get them on the right path from that aspect as well. So also increasing the productivity from that aspect and helping to bridge the gap in different places that maybe you don't know or aren't comfortable with some of the products that are out there from that aspect. Being able to go in, being able to utilize some of the things that are in place, being able to start coordinating with different things that are going to be done as well. And going through, we help train, we help teach on some of these things based on what we're trying to show and what you guys are looking at from that aspect as well. In going through and working with it, again, many options. We train from the aspect of having Navisworks classes. So being able to go in and work with Navisworks to get a better understanding, to start looking at coordination. With that, with the aspect of having BIM 360 coordinate, it's going to be very similar in that sense of using it in an online setting in what you're going to be working with and what you're going to be using as well. And going through and looking at Revit, being able to go in and work with some of the things that are in place. If you're looking at the fabrication parts, being able to utilize anything from that aspect as well. Not just HVAC, not just piping, but a mixture of everything that's there. Piping, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, things that are in place that we're going to be using from that aspect as well. So being able to incorporate that and being able to go with the different things that are in place from that aspect as well. Setting up these things, being able to make everyone feel more comfortable with using it and go from there. So all in all, being able to help out and try to help you guys out as best as we can based on what we're wanting to set up and what we're wanting to use from that aspect. In going through multiple options, multiple different things that we can offer, and then we can help out from that aspect as well. From that point, that is the end of the presentation. We are now open for any questions and answers that you guys may have.
I'm just looking at the queue. I don't see anything in here right now, but if everybody who is listening on right now, if you want to type in a question, please feel free to do that and we will read it. Wondering if maybe we're looking at some more demos. If anybody's got any questions about wanting to see something in the software. No, do you get any just before, like people could be typing and I don't want the empty air. Are there questions that come up for you that are quite common or norm maybe?
Probably the most answered question that I get would be how do when I'm putting a system in how do I keep that system consistent?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, yeah. In going through and working with that, based on everything that is there, the way that I like to view it and the way that I like to go about it, if I'm going through and I'm working with a system and I want to make sure that everything is set up, I like to use the system browser a lot in interacting with anything that is in place. So if you go to your view tab here at the top in your user interface, being able to have this system browser to work with some of the things that you are having in place so that you can keep things a little bit more consistent in what you're doing. Being able to go through, look at the supply air that I have, that I'm interacting with. Being able to deal with the flow and the size and anything that is there that I might want to work with to go from there. In setting everything up and going from there, it's also helpful in making sure that we understand the flow that we're dealing with and being able to go in and interact with some of those things. So in trying to keep things a little bit more in depth and a little bit more consistent from that sense, being able to make sure that as I'm going through, I like to have a overview of what I'm trying to accomplish at that point. So from going through, not only just starting to put things in left and right and going from there, but trying to do a cookie cutter approach of what things are going to be similar. If I know that this system is going to be the same over here, being able to keep it similar in that sense and being able to get everything together in working with that. With piping as well, being able to keep everything noted in what we're wanting to do, being able to have that idea of what we're trying to accomplish before we go in and before we set up everything. Whether it's even just taking a print of the area and just drawing and doing a stick figure drawing to get everything set up beforehand. It's something that it seems menial, but at the end of the day can be really helpful and important from that aspect.
Yeah, that was excellent. Okay, good. Another question come in. Thank you. See, that's what we need.
So Noah, the question is, says, hello, I hopped in late, but we're looking at Clarity. I'm curious what the largest benefit for the MEP is from Clarity and how most are using this to benefit their workflows.
So in going through, and let me get this pulled up again, in working with some of the Clarity things that are there, the thing that I see a lot that is used for the MEP side, definitely the adjust pipe. That's something that's very helpful. Again, it can be frustrating to try to line things up sometimes. Maybe you have a slope that's going and you're trying to get everything lined up a little bit more from that aspect. Instead of trying to delete everything, redraw it, it's something that's very helpful in making sure that we can line that stuff up and we can go from there. The other thing that I see used a lot from the MEP side is our space updates. Being able to use that space utility of renaming everything a little bit quicker. Being able to line things up a little bit more as well as we're going through and we're getting everything associated. So being able to take a sheet or view duplicator and being able to make sure that things are lined up from there. Because as we all know, out of the box, it's kind of difficult at times to make sure that we have our plans lined up so that when we put one of our floor plans on top of another, that we get that lined up so we can see it a little bit better. I've also seen the fabrication parts used a lot for renumbering to make sure that we get everything renumbered in there. So it's more of the aspect of saving time with our tools and with our utilities that we have that we can use from that aspect to just cut time out of our day to spend in more meaningful ways.
Great. I'm sorry for the pause. I'm muting and unmuting myself. Do you have any many like some short some shortcuts or some tips or tricks or anything you can share?
Sure. So one of the things as we're going through and as we're working with everything that is in place, if I'm going to start adding in the return on this side, we all know that we can go in and as we're drawing, we can interact and we can use our systems to start drawing duct. We also know that as we're going in, we can always click the create duct here or create anything that is in place. If we're going from our systems though, and we want to start creating duct at this point and everything that's there, yes, we can go in and we can inherit the elevation and size through here. We can also click our space bar. That will automatically inherit the elevation and the size that we're using. So instead of making sure that that's on, that we have everything the right way to go, just go in, use your space bar. You don't have to fill out the information that's there. It's going to take that connection point. It's going to give you the correct thing that you need to put in that place based on what you're trying to draw in and what you're trying to use. That way I can spend more time getting this layout down the way I want to see it and less time trying to fiddle with, okay, well, what width and what height am I dealing with? And what elevation is this set at? And I need to go back and see everything. I can use that on any equipment that I'm working with that I'm wanting to see as well. Again, not only for ductwork, but also for piping and how we set things up, for electrical aspects as well as we're going in and working with it and being able to work from there. If we get to points where it's rough sometimes when we're trying to convert and change things in the sense that we want to have from Revit parts to fabrication, sometimes I just take it piece by piece in what I'm doing. Because sometimes if I go in and if I work with everything that's in place, maybe I don't get exactly this every time, but it's a start in what we can work with. So as we go through, if something's broken, if we need to work with it a little bit better, take it part by part, go through it slowly, work with it a little bit more in depth, and don't try to do large quantities at the same time in what you're doing. Keep it focused, keep everything working with everything that you're doing from there. In this case, as we see it, we've lost the aspect of, well, we had our color separation difference for everything that we are in place. Well, to help out with that, in our filters that we do, in our visibility graphics overrides that we have, in going through, we can start adding and editing additional filters that we want to use. So if there's something that I want to use and it's for fabrication parts, maybe I'm going in and I'm going to make my fabrication supply filter. I need to remember that the fabrication parts and anything that is in place with that is going to be separate than the duct that is in with Revit and anything from there. So being able to select that, being able to go in from the fabrication service name, making sure that it's equal to supply air, and then going back and changing the visibility of what we're working with. So as I go in, as I place this in, fabrication supply, lines, being able to go in, set it at that same blue or a different blue that we're wanting to have, and being able to get that back so it looks like everything that we have in place and we're using. Once we've had everything gone through, we can always go back. We can always optimize the lengths afterwards. That way we get our cuts that we're wanting to have with everything that is in place that we're using. Then we can space things a little bit better. We can see, okay, maybe we don't need everything over here. We can delete this part. That just saves us an extra piece that we have to cut. Being able to manipulate that, being able to change that around to edit that based on what helps out and what we fabricate to install as well.
Okay. Kel Harper asks a really good question, and I want to see how you're going to answer it. But the question is, we run into issues with architects adjusting levels. In order to fix this coordination alert, is there anything that will adjust the ductwork without conflicting duct fittings? Etc. Our current workflow is to copy monitor, but we would like to avoid that step if possible.
Okay, so like you said, being able to do that copy monitor and setting everything from there. As you go in, as you work with it, one of the things that I've seen in the past that I've done in that sense with anything that is in place, you can go about it multiple ways. In this case, as we're looking at it, we might have these air terminals in the ceiling that we're working with. Well, if we want to separate that and get away from relying on everything that is in place, we can always put in reference planes to use in our ceilings to work with that. So that as we're changing that and as we're modifying and moving it, we can copy monitor a little bit, but we're not necessarily reliant on a ceiling to be in place to use from there at that point. In going through and interacting with it, some of the other things that I've done is as I go in and as I put things in place to change and modify from that aspect, just being aware of where the reference level is, being able to go in and say, okay, maybe if something needs to be at a certain distance, maybe I need to put a different reference plane in to accompany that and to work from there. Typically, though, when going in and when working with the different things that are in place, I found out more times than not, and Norm, you may have a different aspect in when working with that, but typically copy monitor. The only thing I try to copy monitor is the levels that I'm working with. And when that coordination issue pops up, so when you go to your collaborate and you have that coordination review and you're working with the different things that are in place with that coordination review, being able to see the information that populates and being able to use the actions and comments over here. I like to have these to take to meetings, just to have if something does change. That way I can say, okay, how do we deal with it? How do we work with the different things from there? As long as we keep everything connected, I haven't had too many issues with dealing with the movement of things from that nature. But definitely the thing that I find that suffers the most is when ceilings get moved in the aspect of working with air terminals from that aspect as well. So those are the fittings and the accessories that tend to be the trickiest to work with. So that's typically why I like to put in a reference plane to have for my ceilings instead of using anything else that could be there, level wise or ceiling wise.
Yeah, no, I agree. When you copy monitor, it should be a minimum of information, but you still want those comments and those answers. And by placing a reference plane and then taking that reference plane and locking it to the ceiling, your ductwork will be locked to that reference plane so that if it moves, it's going to move the ductwork as well in your plan without affecting the architectural plans as well. So.
Okay, so I think we've answered all the questions that are in the queue.
Yeah.
Again, today's presentation has been recorded. I will clean up just the ending of it, and it'll be sent out to all who has attended today. So with that, I'm just going to hand the floor back over to Tony. Tony?
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. And I know, one session like that may not answer all your questions. So if there are specific project workflow requirements that you have that pertains to your company and your customers, please let me know, teng@rand.com, and we can schedule a dedicated session to address your needs specific to what you require for your clients. So happy to do that. So today's is to let you know who we are, what we can do, and there's a lot more that can be done. So we are here to help. So do not hesitate to contact me. Email is teng@rand.com, Tony Ng. Okay, and so without further taking more of your time, we do want to thank you. And Lori, if you let you finish off the session this morning.
Okay, great. All right, I'll close it out now. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Of course, thanks Noah, and thank Norman for your time, and thank you, Tony. Enjoy your day, everyone. Be well, be safe.